Hello students, and welcome to your Week 5 online lab assignment called Week 5 Online Lab Stoichiometry. This video is going to be a how-to video and a guide that will walk you through how to do and use the gizmo as well as the steps you need to take. But it's also part of the assignment, so you want to make sure you continue to watch and use it to walk through part 1. Now when you get into the class, you'll see the assignment list here, and then you'll find the Week 5 Online Lab Stoichiometry. You'll see there's a link down here in blue that you can click on to access the Word document. When you click on that, it's going to open up in a new tab. So you'll see I already have it open, and the first part of the document itself is just walking you through how to access the gizmo in Explored Learning. So you're going to use the link here and then walk through the steps to log in. And it's similar to how we've logged in for all the other times we've used gizmos. So just go ahead and follow those steps. If you find that you can't log in, make sure you let me know so I can help you. You're going to find the gizmo called Stoichiometry, and that's going to be what we use for the assignment for all 3 parts. So when you get into your Explore Learning and you get into the class list, you're going to look for the gizmo that looks like this right here. It's going to have this thumbnail picture and then be called Stoichiometry. You're going to click on that link and then click Launch Gizmo, and it's going to bring you into a screen that looks like this. Now, the gizmo itself is nice because it has these tiles here where you have your numbers and your units and the species of whatever compound or element you're using already written in for you. And ultimately, the goal is going to be dragging these tiles down to answer a given problem using the tiles down here. So I'll walk you through how to use that, especially for part 1. Now, when you scroll down to part 1, you'll have some instructions here where you're going to pick a chemical equation. You can't use the one I'm using, and then you want to match the problem I'm doing fairly closely with your own chemical equation. So I'll show you how to do that on the next slide, and then we're going to end up pasting a screenshot here. Now, the reason why I wanted to come back to the document is because I can't emphasize enough how important it is to use the mole road to do this. The mole road is going to be a wonderful tool for you to use in order to save time and frustration when it comes to completing any of the problems you end up doing. So you'll see me reference back to this quite often just to show you how to use it along with your gizmo. Now when you look at the gizmo, I have my equation already picked, so this is the equation you cannot use for part 1, so you have to make sure you have a different one. To choose a different equation, all you have to do is click on this button right here called New Equation, and that's going to show up different equations, and you can pick which one you want, just not this one. Now you'll notice that when you get an equation, it gives you a question down here. The question I'm going to be solving for is how many atoms of copper are required to react completely with 250 grams of silver nitrate. So what you'll see is I'm starting with mass of something and going to atoms of something else. So when you are trying to find a question that's similar to this one, just to make it easy to follow along, you're going to want to click New Question until you find something where you're starting with the mass of something, and you'll see that with the letter G, which represents grams. And then you're going to be solving for atoms of something else, or you could also see molecules here. So just letting you know that this unit itself can change depending on what your species is right here. So again, find something similar to what we're solving for here, so that way it'll be easy for you to follow along, just that you have different substances that you're using. So now if we're going to do this assignment and start part 1, and once you have your equation and question picked, you're going to start with a tile down here of what you were given. So in my question, I was given 250 grams of silver nitrate, which is already written down here for me. Now, my goal is to go from grams of this to atoms of this. So if I go back to my mole road, I'm starting with mass of A. In my case, it's silver nitrate. And I want to go to atoms, which is a form of representative particles, of something completely different, which is why we have B. So I have to go all the way over here. And remember, with the mole road, you have to follow it. You cannot skip these steps. So I will end up having to go from mass of silver nitrate to moles of silver nitrate to moles of copper to representative particles or atoms of copper. So let's start down here so we know what our first step is. If I'm going to go from mass of A, or silver nitrate, to moles of silver nitrate, I'm going to follow this arrow right here, and you'll see that my first step says I have moles of A and molar mass of A. This means I'm going to have silver nitrate in my case, both on the top and on the bottom, and I'll have moles and I'll have molar mass. So if I go back to my gizmo, I'm going to find a tile here that has silver nitrate on both the top and the bottom. And right here I have one, and then right here I have one. Now if I'm going from mass to moles, I need moles and I need molar mass, which would be grams. So I'm going to use this tile and not this one. So I'll click this tile and drag it down. And if it's right, you'll notice that your units will cross out, and then you'll be left with a new unit. So now I have moles of silver nitrate. If I go back to my mole road, I have moles of A, or moles of silver nitrate, and the next step is to follow this to go to moles of B. And in this case, for me, it'll be copper. For you, it might be something different. So I'm going to look for whatever species or compound I have now, and what I'm going to go to, and that's what I'm going to need to find on my tile. And then I'm going to have moles both on the top and the bottom. So if I go back here, if I'm starting with silver nitrate, which I see here, and I want to go to copper, which is what the question's asking for, I need to find a tile that has silver nitrate and copper. So if you look throughout here, and then I found one right here, I see moles both on the top and the bottom. I have silver nitrate and copper, which is what I want, and I drag it down, but oh no, it didn't cancel out. What do I do? Now, you'll notice that moles of silver nitrate are on the top for both of these tiles, and that's why they're not canceling out. It's not that I picked the wrong tile, I just have to flip it. So you'll click this flip tile button if that happens, and it'll flip the tile, and then that'll cancel out your units, so now you're on the step that you actually need to be on. Now I am stuck with moles of copper, which is the step I wanted to be in, which is moles B. In my case, again, B is copper. And my next step is to go to representative particles, and in my case, atoms. And when I follow this arrow, you'll see that I need 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd, whatever units. In my case, it'll be atoms of copper, and then 1 mole. So I want to find a tile where I have atoms and moles of copper both on the top and the bottom. So if I look here, I got 1 mole of copper and mass, but I don't want the mass of copper. And then I look here, I have my Avogadro's number, which is what I want, and both of these are copper. So I'm going to grab this guy. Again, it didn't cancel out, so if I click flip tile, now it did. Now I want to make sure I have show units and show numerical result. And if you get the problem right, it'll say problem solved. And it'll give you your answer along with the units and the species that you are solving for. Once you get this step solved, you're going to take a screenshot of this. Now you can use your PRTSC key on your keyboard. You can use a snipping tool, or, I don't know if you knew this, but in Explore Learning Gizmos, you have this Tools button down here. If you open it, it allows you to take a screenshot of whatever you did and copy that into your Word document. So that is also another option for you. So now, when I want to do a new problem, I would hit reset, and that'll bring me back to be able to change my equation and my question. So when you solved your follow along one, you'll put that screenshot here, and then you'll move on to part 2. Now, part 2 is going to follow the same approach, but this time I'm going to let you do it on your own. You're going to pick 2 chemical reactions, and they can be any chemical reaction you want. The only limitations I have on that is if you have a sibling or a friend in the class, you cannot use the same 2 chemical equations at all. So let's say you were to pick this one here and pick these 2 here, then that means your sibling or your friend cannot use either one of these equations. Once you pick your equations, you're going to pick 3 problems. Now there is a restriction on the problems. You cannot use the same problem that I did in the follow along video if you choose my equation, and you cannot use the same problem you did. So basically you can't use your screenshot in part 1 for part 2, okay? So these have to be completely new problems that we haven't done yet. So when you pick your 2 equations, do 3 different problems for that chemical equation, and you want to get to where it says problem solved on your screenshot, And you're going to take a screenshot each time you solve it. So it looks like this. And you're going to put those screenshots here. So you're going to have a total of 6 of them. Now, I have been asked if students want to do 3 chemical reactions in 2 problems, and that is totally fine. Again, as long as it meets the rules of you have your own chemical reactions that you're choosing that don't match the siblings, and you're not using the same problems we used in part 1, that's totally fine. You just need to have 6 different screenshots down here. Please use the mole road to help you follow along. This is meant to help you know what tile to pick, just looking at following the arrows and the steps that you need to use. This will save you a lot of time and a headache as well. And then the third part and the last part is the reflection. How did the assignment go? Things like that, and you just type your answer down here. Now, if you find that you're doing this assignment and you cannot for the life of you get it to work or get an answer, please email me so I can help you. I do not know if you need help if you don't tell me. I can help walk you through 1 or 2 problems until you get the hang of it, and that would be just fine. Or you can rewatch the part 1 follow along if you have something similar so you know what steps to take. But other than that, when you have part 1, 2, and 3 done, make sure you save your assignment. You're going to go into your assignment form and submit your assignment. Good luck with that. And then again, if you need help, let me know.